to come and read for us. Thanks, Mel.
Cheat sheet. Excellent. Thank you. One day, Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you where you will be well provided for. Now Boaz, with these women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Threshing floor. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as your guardian redeemer, good, let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until the morning." So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. And he said, "No one must know that a woman came to the threshing floor." He also said, "Bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out." When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and placed the bundle on her. Then he went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" Then she told her everything Boaz had done for her and added, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Thank you. Well, what risk would you take for love? What risk would you take for love? How far would you go into an unknown situation, stepping into a relationship perhaps where you know very little about the outcomes? How much would you put yourself out there to be vulnerable? And especially when there is strong potential for rejection, hurt, betrayal. What is your risk appetite to show love, to initiate love, when you might only get back a cold shoulder or something worse? What risk would you take for love? And did you notice here in this passage how much of it was about love? Well, before we get to that, let's start by getting some names right. Normally my rule is with particularly like Old Testament names, and if you're not sure about the pronunciation, my rule is just say it confidently and we'll all believe you that that's right. Like at the start of this book, there's Elimelech, but if you said Elmech, just say it confidently and it's fine, just go with it. There's an exception to that though, and that's the name that we have here. Starts with B and rhymes with Oaz. Can we all say that together? Boaz. All right, so that's a good start, but it's not really how we pronounce it, okay? And I was taught this by some reputable people, right? There is a pronunciation for this. You have to think a little bit more like this, okay? And you might have to put on a little bit of a sultry look. Maybe even deepen your voice a little bit. Because it's more like this. And we're all going to try. Think this, right? Let's try again. Boaz. Yeah? That's more like it, right? You've got to pronounce every letter of that. Boaz. Almost. Anyway, because that is what is going on here, okay? And it's the parents are probably thinking, I'm glad Oaktree Kids started today, so we don't get a few questions about the birds and the bees afterwards. Well, this is I didn't create this from AI. This is a real thing. Netflix, I think last year, put out Boaz and Ruth. They gave it a go. I don't know if I could stomach it. I haven't watched it, and I'm sure I'm not game to. So if you want to do some research for me and let me know how good or bad it is, you can tell me after watching it. But I read through the plot. I'm like, oh no. Anyway, here's some of the plot. Ruth, a hip-hop artist from Atlanta. It's a modern-day adaptation, all right? It's like when they do Romeo and Juliet, but they put it into modern day. Anyway, a hip-hop artist from Atlanta is trying to escape from her controlling and dangerous manager. At the same time, her boyfriend, Marlon, and his dad, Eli, have been gunned down in an attempted carjacking. She gets the call from her boyfriend's mother, Naomi. Now, as a family, they'd lost everything except a rundown house in Tennessee. Desperate, Ruth joins Naomi in Tennessee. Determined, the young woman... It's probably a great movie. I'm sorry to the makers. They put a lot of time in, I'm sure. Determined, the young woman immediately tackles the abandoned house's greatest problem, the broken windows. A dejected Naomi storms off to bed. In the morning, Ruth tirelessly seeks work in town, finally joining a grape harvesting crew for a vineyard recently inherited by Boaz. Meanwhile, Naomi earnestly cleans the house. Pastor Charles appears. But she hides. Ruth returns, telling her about her job. Naomi fondly remembers both the older Azra and his son, Bo. Fellow grape picker Lena invites Ruth out for drinks and karaoke. Lena signs her up, having heard her singing earlier. As Ruth sings, she catches Boaz's eye. Boaz unsuccessfully tries to flirt with her. I won't read any more. Now, I get that a modern day adaptation, you have to change some of the details, right? You got to have some flexibility in these things. But I actually think it is precisely in the strangeness of chapter 3. I hope when you're reading through chapter 3 and you're hearing it then, you're like, what happened there? What does that mean? What is going on? I don't even know what a threshing floor is. It is precisely in the weirdness that we have some of the best stuff here. I'm sure Pastor Charles is wonderful and says all the right things. I'm sure plenty of the emotion and significance of the story is there, but it's actually in the bits that Hollywood needs to cut out that I want to focus on today. So firstly, this chapter starts with Naomi setting Ruth up with Boaz. And not just a bit of subtle matchmaking. Naomi gives clear instructions on what Ruth needs to go and do. Verse 3, wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. As in, make yourself look and smell as attractive as possible. Make some clear indications that you are matrimonially interested. This is a specific instruction from her mother-in-law. Then go down to the threshing floor. This is actually a dangerous place for Ruth or any woman to go. It's kind of like wander off into a stag party or like a men's weekend away. A woman just kind of turning up to this. And keep in mind, we are in the time of the judges. There is a lot of lawlessness, and there might be some moral principles, but it's questionable as to whether they will be followed. You can't guarantee that anyone is going to be following God's law. Then Naomi says, but don't let him know you are there until he's finished eating and drinking. Essentially, wait until the effects of the wine have kicked in to Boaz. Then, when he lies down, note the place where he's lying. So it's like spy on him. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do. And I mean, that summarizes the tone of this whole chapter. It is full of suspense and unknown outcomes. It is risky. It is saucy, but it's risky. The chapter ends with Naomi saying, wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens. We don't know what happens at the end of this chapter. Ruth doesn't know what's going to happen when she goes and does this. Naomi doesn't know what is going to happen. It is full of risk. And yet, how does Ruth respond to Naomi? She simply says, I will do whatever you say. I'll do whatever you say. Do you know that statistically, out of all the relationships, like when a man marries a woman and you have the in-laws and the outlaws and you've got brothers and sisters and brothers-in-laws and like children and all the things, statistically, which relationship out of all of those is the most likely to be fraught with challenges? Statistically, it is the wife and the mother-in-law. Now, that's not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but statistically, that is the most fraught one, typically. And yet it's the relationship that we have here. So picture now a scenario of you having that in your life. So if you are a wife, think of your mother-in-law. If you are a mother-in-law, think of your daughter-in-law. Or if you're not one of those, then think of a scenario like some people around you. Who are they? What are their names? And then imagine how this piece of relationship advice would go. How would you receive it if you're the wife from your mother-in-law? And how would it go if you're the mother-in-law giving it? Now, love, you need to doll yourself up, sneak up on Boaz and get him as your new husband. Ruth simply says, I will do whatever you say. The faithfulness, the loyalty, the commitment that Ruth has is unwavering. It goes against everything we do nowadays that's so individualistic. That we are the authors and captains of our own destiny. We might take some external generic advice, preferably from the internet or AI, not from a direct, real human. But any sense of obedience, and particularly that kind of unquestioning obedience, I will do whatever you say. We'd call that blind and ignorant now. Who would do that? But what if faithfulness into the depths of extraordinary risk would actually paint the most beautiful picture of what life is made for? What if faithfulness was so much more valuable to us than what we might get out of it romantically? Okay, the next weird thing that Hollywood struggles with. We read through that Ruth does exactly as Naomi instructed her. Boaz eats and drinks. Ruth sneaks in. He gets his feet uncovered, which it's either like they get cold and so it wakes him, or she tickles his feet or something, I don't really know. And in the dark, he says, "Who are you?" Can't see. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are our guardian redeemer of our family." There's two big things in what Ruth says right there that are hard for us to understand. Ruth is not saying that she's cold, "Can I have some of your blanket?" She's not saying just that, what we think she's doing there, which is let's get in bed together and talk about the birds and the bees. She's actually saying, "Propose to me in marriage." That's what she's saying. It means come under my protection. That phrase there, "spread the corner of your garment over me," is a symbol of marriage. It's a very specific set of words. She's saying, propose to me in marriage. Spread your garment, your covering over me, so that two of us under one garment would come together. In fact, in some Jewish wedding ceremonies, they still do this. They'll enact it out. They'll put a piece of material over the husband and the wife, the bride and the bridegroom. And notice that Ruth isn't asking a question. It's a request. Spread the corner of your garment over me. She doesn't say, "Will you marry me?" It's more like, "Marry me." And then she gives a reason. "Since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." Guardian redeemer, or a kinsman redeemer. This is something also that we don't understand. It's a kind of a legal term, and it's actually to protect the land from being lost and sold to outsiders when people die. If landowners died, their widows and children, if there was no direct inheritance that they could pass on, that could be sold off and the land is lost from God's people and the name and the heritage that is associated with it. And so Ruth is saying, Boaz, you can have it all. You can have me and everything that comes with me, which is Naomi's name and inheritance. Ruth is giving herself away fully to Boaz in one short sentence. All right, final weird thing that Hollywood really has to scrub out. This is a doozy. Boaz replies in verse 10, "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor." You have not run after. Here, we don't know Ruth's age. We don't know Boaz's age. We're not told. But clearly, Boaz has an expectation that Ruth could have pursued a relationship with men younger than him. Now, put that in the context of where it's completely normal in a relationship for the men to be older than their wives, and quite a lot, by our standards at least. So in that context, if Boaz is saying, "There's some younger men for you," how old is Boaz? How much older is Boaz? He's kind of got it in his mind that I'm not in your kind of marriageable category. There's some traditions and thoughts that put Boaz at 80, like a widower, that he had a wife at some point, she's died, and now he's 80, and they put Ruth at 40. Could you imagine Hollywood trying to do that? Right? Now, I know we've got some 80-year-olds in the room here. I won't get you to put your hands up. Say if you're ineligible. And I know we've got some 40-year-old women. But that's some, for us to think about, that's some strange casting. Now, even if they're not that old, There is a significant age difference. It is not this, right? What that says, well, that kind of matchmaking now would raise some serious eyebrows. But Ruth, on the advice of Naomi, is doing something very unexpected. We should learn from this that God does the unexpected. It's not about romance the way we think of romance. God has an important story to be weaving. And He works through us, sometimes in really strange ways, that culturally around us, people might think, oh, what? But when God calls you to step out in faith, that is the most amazing story to be a part of. In the final chapter of Ruth, we start to see why and where the story is going. But for now, we're meant to be left with suspense and questions. It's an unexpected romance. It is a cliffhanger of a romance, but an unexpected one. It should shift our emphasis and expectations around all relationships. For those of you who are married, here's some homework for you. Erin and I use this when we're doing marriage prep for people leading up to their wedding. If you're not married or you're dating, then you can use this. It's a good thing to do for anyone. It's a great exercise. Even if you're not dating, it's good to think about all relationships through this lens. And the exercise we get people to do is like on a piece of paper, you write faithfulness in the middle, fruitfulness and fun. And then above each of those, you write positive contributions. So experiences, behaviors, situations where you feel like faithfulness has been improved, or you get a greater sense of faithfulness. And then under, certain things that you might think, that's actually taking away from my experience of faithfulness. I feel like you're not being so faithful if that happens. So an example would be positive contribution. You make me a coffee every single morning without fail, even if I'm not there. You'll still make a coffee for me. That might be, for someone, a really positive experience of you are so committed to me that you will do that every single morning without fail. That might be really important for a specific person. It might not be for someone else, so you wouldn't put it there. A negative contribution might be something like, when a young woman walks in the door and she's really attractive and everyone notices, but you don't avert your eyes, you kind of let them linger. That makes me feel like you're not so faithful. So specific behavior that you might notice one way or the other. And then fruitfulness. So faithfulness is about loyalty, that you will stay there committed day in, day out until death do us part, is the words of marriage. Fruitfulness, positive contribution around fruitfulness is, now in marriage we think about children being fruitful and multiply, but it's about career as well, the things that we do, positive contributions in the world, the difference we make. It might be hospitality, I love it when you say, hey, we should invite some friends around for dinner and bless them with a wonderful meal. I feel like we are being more fruitful with our relationship when we open our doors. And the negative might be like, I'm sick of people, I just want to close the doors and I never want to do that. Or whatever it is, or it might be undermining their career in some way. And then fun. Marriage is supposed to be fun, but in the sense also of pleasure. God made sex to be pleasurable. It's meant to be enjoyable, but not just that. Like it's an adventure to go on together. You could have a really faithful marriage. You are loyal until death do you part. Maybe you've had kids, but you've hated every moment of it. That's not how marriage is meant to be. It's meant to be enjoyable. So this is the homework. You can go and do that. You don't need that piece of paper. You just write faithful, fruitful, fun, and go for it. And then you do that individually, and then you share with each other, and you see the fireworks that happen after that, or the really encouragements that come, and you have a conversation. So don't do it alone. If you're going to do it together, you can come and talk to us or find someone that you trust to help you through that. So that's an exercise, but you can do that with your friendships as well. Like, what is my friendship? Is it faithful? Is it fruitful? Is it fun? Why do we do it? Why am I showing you this? Because how often do we reverse that order? There's a reason why it's faithful, fruitful, fun. But culturally, in movies, stories, everyone around us is going to reverse that story. And it will happen to us too. We will start with, is it fun? Is it pleasurable? Does it fill me up in an amazing way? Do I feel good about it? Does it make my endorphins go? Does it give me a dopamine kick? That's our starting point. Have you noticed how much of the internet is talking about dopamine now? And we're obsessed with dopamine. We just want to feel good. That's the basis for everything. If it's fun, then we'll think about, is it fruitful? Is something coming of it? Maybe we can be generous. Maybe we can do something else. If it's fun, yeah, maybe we'll have a kid together. And then it is faithful. And if the first two fall over, then faithfulness falls over too. But that's not what we see in Ruth. And that's not what we see in God. God is faithful to you before we ever are. Before you were born, God was faithful to you. Whilst we were sinners, Christ died for us. While we were far off, Christ died for us. While we were enemies. Can you imagine, like, Ruth is kind of stepping into the darkness here. She doesn't know what's going to happen, but she makes this, like, marry me. Like, that's huge. She's putting herself out there. She's going all in. She's giving herself away, doesn't know what's coming. It's a huge risk. Jesus did that for you in the most epic way. He gave his life, not just his inheritance, what he has. He gave his life. He laid it down in his life for you. And it's even more than just saying it's a risk, because he knew what was going to happen. He knew he would be betrayed by his closest. He knew he'd be denied by his closest. He knew they'd fall away. He knew the crowds that would usher him into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. Hosanna! Is our hero coming in? Would be the crowds that would say, crucify him. He knew it wasn't just dark, it was evil and horrid. It was cruel. And he gave more than a marriage proposal. He said, I love you so much I will die for you. That's what he stepped into. Faithfulness first. Then the abundance of fruitful life in Christ. Because he went to the grave, he rose from the tomb, freed us all from slavery to sin and death, for the sake of restoring the world to be fun. And you don't know an adventure like going on an adventure with God. Amen.